I love bringing up my high school because, my gosh, no, I'm not supposed to say that. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We're in a little bit of a different position here. It's the same place as I film all my other sit down videos. I just moved a few inches over, but we're back and I'm so excited to film this video because it has been an interesting year here at Baylor, especially us freshmen coming in, don't know what to expect, plus you have a pandemic in the midst of everything. Today I'm gonna go over my likes and dislikes of Baylor University from my personal perspective, just through what I've experienced this whole year. It has been a crazy year. I wouldn't take it back for anything and I'm so grateful to be here. But before we get into it, please like, comment, and subscribe and share it with someone who would like it as well. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you know what to do. It will be right in front of my face or right here. Go ahead and give it a follow. Let's get into the video. So we're first gonna start with the things I like about Baylor. There is plenty that I love about this place, but I've shortened it down to 5 or 6. I don't remember, but we'll see as we go along. We're gonna start with our first one, and that is the fact that Baylor really emphasizes on community and like tight-knit communities. Because Baylor has a smaller population and most people here have similar general values, it's very easy to form bonds and connections that are meaningful off of that. But I think because a lot of the groups formed, whether it's through activities or organizations or clubs or groups through church, tend to run smaller naturally. It is very easy to form those tight-knit communities and form those meaningful bonds. For example, I'm Christian. It's pretty obvious if you follow me for a while. A lot of the nearby churches really emphasize on joining a life group, which is a small group within your church that you meet with probably weekly, bi-weekly, and you guys go through life together and you guys hold each other accountable, read the word, form a bond through God with Christ at the center. I'm in a life group and I know a bunch of people who are. I think the communities that I've been involved with have helped shape me into the person I am today. Pursuing a walk with God, pursuing Christ, it's always good to have that community around you that will support you and encourage you to do that. That's what I've been able to experience here, and it's been an honor, it's been a privilege, and I don't know what I would do without the community that I have. The next thing I like about Baylor is that it really provides a space to exercise your faith and to do it confidently. I came to Baylor this last semester with very little knowledge about God and a very weak relationship with Him. I had the desire and I had the curiosity to want to pursue that further and explore that further. It really provides a space for you to grow and learn about God and grow that relationship without too much interference or influence from the world and society. Even in the span of a few months that I've been here, my relationship with God has increased on its own. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm in a space where I can freely grow and pursue that. It really helped me to build that foundation. Of course, I grew up Christian and all of that, but I think the environment I was in before I came to Baylor, there was a lack of faith. Because I've been so open about my faith recently and have been unashamed and like talking about it with people, I tend to forget that I come from a place where you're kind of looked down upon if you talk about God or if you proclaim your faith. And so it's going to be interesting to go back home and exercise that in a place that it's not really welcome in the way that I've experienced while I'm here, but I think I got the tools and foundations to be able to do that. And as I mentioned before, you know, being able to grow and exercise your faith, a lot of people are striving to do the same things of just like pursuing God and growing their faith. And so it's easy to find that community of people and that support group and those friends that are going to encourage and uplift you. My friends know all day, every day, how grateful I am for them. I love all of you. Shout out to all of you. I have too much to say about that. The next thing I like about Baylor is the population size. Now, I'm coming from a high school where our graduating class was 50 people, so it was very small. And I attended that school for 8 years, all I ever knew, and I got comfortable with that. And so going into college, I wanted that same thing of just a small school where I know everyone, where I see the same people all the time, because that's all I knew and I didn't want to really do anything different. And so Baylor was the only school that I applied to that had a significantly larger population. I applied to schools schools like Dallas and Houston Baptist that had a fraction of what Baylor had in terms of population. And so Baylor became the last school that I ever wanted to go to. I just happened to apply because of a free application fee, as I've said. But through influence and just God and like everything happening, I've ended up here, as you can see. See that? I truly think Baylor has a sweet balance of just like, it's not too big to the point where you see a new person every time you walk out of your door, and it's very hard to see the same people every day, but it's not too small to where it's like you're suffocated and surrounded by the same people every day. I've been very comfortable with just being able to see a few people that I know and recognize while seeing new people that I've never seen before. Like, there's a very good balance here. I've grown to like that quite a bit. It is very relieving to not be surrounded by the same 5 people constantly every day like I was in high school, and so it has made life a whole lot healthier and a whole lot more enjoyable. The next thing I like about Baylor is going to be kind of a confusing one, but I'll try to explain it the best I can. Baylor itself has a good balance of being nationally recognized versus preserving those small school values. Baylor has national rankings in various aspects, whether it's academically, within their sports teams, or just like the fact that they're Christian. People know and recognize Baylor for a lot of different reasons. There are a good amount of people, not only within the nation, but especially within Texas, who know Baylor for those different reasons. Get a sense of confidence in knowing that if you say that you go to Baylor, there's a good chance that people will know what school that is. I know this one is more image driven. It gives you a bit of confidence knowing that you go to a school that people recognize some light, you know what I mean? It brings that confidence, especially if you're talking to someone in Texas. 98% of people who live in Texas know what Baylor is, which makes it that much more exciting when you say that you go to Baylor to someone who lives in Texas. It's like, oh, really? Yeah, hopefully more exciting than that, but you know what I mean. However, we're not the most popular school out there. We're not Stanford, we're not Harvard or anything, which I think helps a bit too, because it's like when you are on top like that, people have a lot of expectations of the students who go there. They place stereotypes on them and all these things, and so the fact that it's like not most well known out there kind of relieves you of having those expectations put on you from people or from society or any of that. So I think there's a good balance there. It's just a good balance. Okay, so I think because of that, Baylor has been able to reach out to a specific group of people who desire what Baylor has. Instead of reaching far and wide to a general population, they have been able to reach out to a selective group of people who will truly be invested in that school. That is one of many reasons that I'm so proud I'm from Baylor, because best school in the nation. Okay, all right. So this next one kind of ties into the last one, and that there's a lot of spirit and pride from the student body within our campus. What I mean by that is that the people I'm around, especially during a lot of the football games and all of that, I've never been in a space where people have just been so proud to be at a school. And I'll tell you why. I love bringing up my high school because, my gosh, I went to a high school where it was an embarrassment to say that you went there. You were embarrassed to be from there. You were embarrassed to attend that school. We were that one school in our district that no one wanted to associate with, and everyone wanted to escape. We had no high school sports. Our academics were mediocre, and we sold parents on the fact that we wore uniforms. And society tends to believe that if your kid wears a uniform, they go to the best school ever. Not true. And I can tell you that firsthand. And so being at a school where I actually like being here, I'm actually very comfortable with saying that I'm from here, and I take pride in it, and I'm confident in that. It just really relieves me of that past shame I had with the high school I went to. People want to be here, and people are proud to be here, and it's very exciting to see. But there was no reason to be proud of going to my high school. There was no reason to like be confident in it. Like, we were all like losers. And there's so much to be proud of at Baylor. The fact that we're Christian, or our high-ranking academic programs, or even our sports teams when we do well. I want to branch off of that a little bit and say that I think a lot of it can stem from the fact that Texas itself has a culture where they take pride in everything and anything that involves being a Texan or anything in Texas. I don't really know, but there seems to be a lot of pride in being a Texan, and like Baylor's in Texas, and like you get the logic, okay? My last aspect of Baylor that I like, that I will mention, even though I have trillions more, is the architecture and the design of the buildings that are in place. I really am fascinated, and I've never been so fascinated about a campus, but like especially the newer buildings like the Foster Business Building or the Baylor Science Building, just very well put together, very classic, impeccably designed. Like, I don't know who designed these things. They need to design my house, all right? It's a really beautiful campus, really pretty. There's a lot of history here, and it's really, really nice to see that. So now we're going to go into the things I dislike about Baylor. And I have a few. No school's perfect at all. The pros definitely outweigh the cons for me. There's no other school I'd rather be at, but there are some things that I wish would improve a little bit. So the first thing that I dislike about Baylor is the dorm life and the dorm community stuff. So I will say first off is that I'm never in my dorm. I'm usually in my dorm to sleep or film a video, and that's it. At first, like coming into Baylor, we're freshmen, we're vulnerable, and we need that support system now that we're not with our parents or in a place where we're comfortable. We're coming into something new. And so during those first few weeks, the community and the dorm life here can be very high energy and vibrant and exciting, and people just wanting to get to know each other, leaving their doors open, RAs, the director and everything helping you out. That tends to die down within a few weeks, at least in my dorm. It can get kind of like sad to be in your room. It can get very dead. Like it's very lifeless sometimes. I'd rather be out there than here a lot of the time. Even being here right now, I'm like, get me out. You know what I mean? With every dorm on every college, there are stigmas with the dorm and the people who live there, but I'm definitely very, 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 very excited to be able to live in my apartment next year. Less restrictions, room to like have your own space. Did I mention communal bathrooms? Okay, I'll say one thing about communal bathrooms is that they aren't as bad as I thought they were gonna be. They're still terrible, but they aren't as bad. That's gonna be good too, just not having to deal with communal bathrooms. I'm really, really excited to live in my own apartment, as you can tell. This one's gonna be kind of an intense one to talk about, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway, and that is the fact that Baylor seems to have a wavering stance these recent years on being unapologetically Christian. While Baylor has a reputation with being Christian and being a Baptist school and standing on that, they seem to have been apologizing for a lot of things over these recent years. Even I've noticed it as someone who is kind of new to the faith. It's very easy to see that Baylor's been on the fence about a lot of things that they shouldn't be. It can get pretty disappointing for those who really stand by Baylor for being Christian and for upholding those Christian principles. I didn't want to go to just any other school. I wanted to go to a school that set itself apart from the world and from the secular schools out there. And with doing that, you have to do things that regular schools won't do. You have to stand on things that regular schools will allow. That's what I thought I was going to get when coming to Baylor, and for the most part, it has been true. But it seems like even during the short time that I've been here, they seem to have apologized for a lot of things that they shouldn't have. I think a lot of it has to do with fear or pressure of just like not being able to appease certain people that they feel like they need to, which in my opinion would be a lose-lose situation for Baylor, because at the end of the day, the pressure from that mob that they're worried about, they will never be happy and they'll always want more and more from Baylor until they get power. On the other side, Christians will be disappointed that Baylor continuously is hesitant to stand for anything, which decreases the credibility of Baylor itself. And so either way, no one's happy. There's more value in standing for something even when the world is against you, even when the world is pressuring you to do something different. At least you have a group of loyal people who are invested in your school that will stand by you and will be proud of you for doing that, rather than trying to appease to a group that will never be pleased and will never be happy, and losing that loyal support from the people who appreciate the fact that Baylor has a backbone when they do. Hopefully Baylor realizes that soon. Another thing that I don't like about Baylor so much is the fact that we are truly a Baylor bubble. And so people use this term in many different ways, but I'm going to use it in more the geography and placement of Baylor and the campus itself. Baylor is in the I don't know what Waco was like when Baylor was first built and established. Placement of Baylor is literally in an environment that is just worn down. It's lifeless. There's nothing to do here. Like there's nothing. There's roller skating, there's Melody Ranch, which is like this country dance thing, which I actually like, but even then, that can get tiring at times. There's Magnolia. People come to Waco to go to Magnolia. I don't understand the hype, but apparently my mom does, and so when we first got here, that's the first place she went. Plus maybe a few more that I don't know of. We do have Cameron Park, and we do have Lake Waco. There are those things. Doing the same stuff all the time can get tiring. If you have no car and you have no way of escaping Baylor and Waco in general, you're kind of stuck. You feel trapped, and it ain't fun. Usually what people do for the weekends or during a break is they go to Austin, which is 1.5 hours south of Waco, or Dallas, which is 1.5 hours north from Waco. So Waco's like right dead center in the middle. But for someone who doesn't have a car, I'm very limited on options. It can get pretty tiring doing the same stuff or being stuck on campus for most days of your life. While I don't prefer the city life and I would rather live in a place that's not really much of a city environment, Baylor seems to be the only thing keeping Waco afloat, and maybe Magnolia. And that's about it. My last dislike about Baylor University is that there seems to be a loud minority versus silent majority battle here on campus. Honestly, this can apply to any college campus today, is that there seems to be a loud minority kind of speaking for the rest of us on behalf of the student body, but it's definitely prominent here at Baylor, even while it being a Christian school, sadly. And so for those who don't understand what that means, there seems to be a small collective group of people that have been able to secure positions on campus where they can speak out and speak within platforms that outreach to a wider audience. However, they're the only ones doing the speaking. And a lot of those people within that small group hold the same beliefs and ideologies and perspectives, when there are a good amount of other students who don't feel the same way that they do. And so when they claim to represent the student body, it's really hard to relate to that and to feel represented by that. In fact, I feel more misrepresented than represented. A big example of this has to do with the Baylor Lariat. It just seems that only one set of values has been given the loudest voice to speak and the biggest platforms to speak, while the remaining people with different beliefs don't get that same opportunity here on our campus. The opinion articles seem to be written by people who all hold the same beliefs and the same perspective of opinions. It can get very redundant and people tend not to want to read it anymore. There's no diversity of opinion and diversity of thought. I made the decision to write a few articles of my own as a guest contributor to show that not all people think like this. That is one thing I could say that I'm proud of, that I was able to show that people have different opinions and there's an audience that doesn't feel represented. When it comes to being that other voice, it becomes a bit harder to build that platform for yourself or to get access to a platform where you can outreach like that. Like for my second article, which was It's Okay to Love America, it took a whole month before I saw that article published. And I DM'd people, I emailed people, they all left me on scene. They basically ignored my request. And so it took one angry email to the right person and they were just like, we'll have it in tomorrow. But the fact that I had to wait as long as I did to be able to see my opinion out there when they are willingly accepting opinions from students all the time, it's almost unfair how much harder we have to work to have our voices heard than the people who seem to have that voice already. The thing about that is you want change, you have to be the change you want to see, and that's what I did, and that's what a lot of people that I know are hoping to do and are striving to do as well. So hopefully we can see that change in the near future, but we have to do it ourselves. So that is it on my likes and dislikes and the pros and cons of Baylor University. I wouldn't trade this experience for anything. I love it here. I'm so glad I'm here, and there's a reason I'm here, and I will work as hard as I can to fulfill God's mission and purpose for me in this place while I'm here. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you've made it to the end. It's so good to see you here. But until then, it's a wrap.